All right, welcome to, I don't know, is it the third after show we've done? Obviously, this is the after show, and we're going to be talking about the PWA in Sylt. It has just happened. We've had the first full racing event with full points counting. I'm joined by Jordy Vonk. How are we doing, mate?
Thanks for having me, Ben. Yeah, doing good. I mean, you've been plenty of time on Sylt. You know that there's always a little time you have to recover from this event. I'm in that recovery mode at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who hasn't done Sylt, if you are just joining us, like I said, we're going to talk about the PWA in Sylt. Obviously, Jordy, if you don't know him, top PWA racer. And we've been a bit starved of competition. So this one was a big one. And if you've never seen sort of action from Sylt, if you look at the photo on your screen, for the people who are listening at home, there's a picture on the screen of some shore break, which the guys have had to deal with in Sylt. Now, you don't really see this, but I mean, when you look at some of these pictures, if you're a foiler, you will know how nasty that can be. And they're not big waves. We're talking a 2-foot wave? But when you've got to carry your gear in, I mean, Geordie's going to tell us in a minute, but it's a meter long foil, I guess. The mast on the foil is a meter. So you've got to get at least a meter deep. And then you've got 2 foot on top of that. Nasty.
Yeah, it's always funny when you stand on the beach, you're checking the situation and you're like, there's almost no wave. And then you walk in and then you realize that the sand kind of goes down and this wave comes on top of you. Yeah, that's where suddenly,
before we get into it solidly, like I say, if you've got any questions, firstly I should say that if you've got any questions you want to ask, let us know. Geordie's going to be the man. He has been there, he's seen the waves as well, he's seen the freestyle, so we're going to have a little chat about that, but we're mostly going to focus on the racing. Who are the movers and shakers? Who are the guys that have been looking good? For anyone who doesn't know, Amado Freespike actually won the event, which for a lot of people out there are going, I thought he was a freestyler. Yes, he was the 2021 Freestyle World Champion, but he has been absolutely going down the racing route. I spoke to him last year and he was like, you know what? I've kind of done this now, the world champ. It's still a focus, but it's not his biggest focus. Racing now is his big focus. He's piled on some weight. And he, by looking at the live stream, was going quick. I mean, Jordy, what is he like now? How has he changed over the last sort of season?
Well, I've been during Sylt standing on the scale with him, and he was a proper 103.9 kilo.
No, you are joking.
He passed the 3 digits by some kilos.
Whoa.
I do believe he is, I guess, 35 kilos heavier than the average freestyler.
No way. So again, for people who don't know, that might explain why he didn't do so well in the freestyle, because there were some, from what I understood, lighter heats. It was still contestable competition, but there's not many 103 kilogram freestylers out there.
I mean, yeah, if you look at it, I mean, he was on a 101 liter freestyle board while being 103, 104 kilo, while all the others are using probably a 92 to 101 board, somewhere in that range, but they're all at least 10, 15 kilos lighter than the volume of the board. You know, so you can almost not expect him when it's tricky conditions, because it was onshore conditions. There's a lot of current, so sometimes it looks mental windy, but because of the onshore, the chop, the current, it's actually not so powerful out there. Okay. And he was struggling with the power, and it just makes sense. I mean, he's a big boy now.
I mean, that's an understatement, isn't it? 103. That's almost, is that heavier than Albeau? Well, Albeau
at the moment it could be. At the moment it could be that he's heavier. I mean, he looks huge. It's no surprise. Like when you see him in real, you're not surprised that he's so heavy. The thing is, he's not so tall, and I don't know if you've ever seen his trainer.
Yes,
he does not fit through a normal door. The guy is we call it sometimes like a fridge, you know, when you're like, like fucking wide, and you know, he's you know, they're not so tall, but they completely compensated with huge arms, shoulder. They're huge everywhere. It's
That's
unbelievable.
bonkers. And so it is muscle. Has he put on much fat? I mean, I haven't seen him. Is he?
I mean,
That must be a bit of
it's
fat as well now.
it's. I believe there's two kind of ways to bulk. No, like it's kind of in the dirty way where you just eat shitloads and you take some weight gainers and you really kind of blow yourself up. He's definitely not ripped. He's definitely not ripped.
So it's a bit of
Um,
everything.
but it works out. I mean, first of all, he's freaking strong. Like, so it's not just fat. No, it's
Yeah.
it's built up this way on purpose. Um, so it's definitely. I guess if it would be only a freestyle event, he can actually cut down quite some kilos, quite easy to lose some
Okay.
fat and become lighter. But I think his focus really shifted from freestyle towards slalom, and also the IQ Worlds not next week, but I think in 2 weeks are coming up in Brest, where he also needs to be heavy. So I think the focus was really not on freestyle this event. I think it was fully on slalom and on the IQ event later this month. And he was willing to sacrifice the freestyle. And I'm sure if it was proper windy, I'm not sure he would have won, but for sure he would have been one of the guys,
He's still got the
fighting.
moves, hasn't he? I mean,
Exactly.
he's not
And in this
lacking.
case, like it was light and yeah, he
So,
sacrificed due to the
just
body, but he won the slalom. I mean, fuck. I
I mean, but
think
that's massive, isn't it? To go from freestyler, obviously, I like the Bonaire boys because they do a bit of everything. Tatty's the same. He does a bit of racing, does a bit of freestyle, does a bit. I do like that. I come from, old school mentality where you grew up and everyone did everything, which was always cool. So I do like that they've done that, but you can see now he's had to dedicate himself now to be a racer. It's all right doing everything, but if you just average at everything, he specialized in freestyle. He won the freestyle. And then he's gone, right, now if I want to do the Olympics, I want to do IQ foil, I want to do PWA racing to be at the top. He's obviously set a goal. He's an optimum weight, which I'm guessing is over 100 kilos. Would that be fair
I
to
guess
say?
I need to gain a little too.
Yeah, but is that what people are thinking now?
I mean, I think it's always been like that already,
Yeah.
and I think his weight is helping him for sure. But I've seen Amado on slalom gear already 10 years ago, already more. So it's not that he's a guy that shifted last year. Like, okay, now I'm just gonna do the slalom. Like
Yeah.
he knows how to do slalom already for a long time, and he's been in winners finals before. And on the foil, he won the foil event in Costa Brava 3 years ago. Like he showed already that he's capable of doing this kind of stuff. And
He's already won PWA in Costa Brava.
yes,
Yes. See, I forgot
yes,
that.
it was
Okay.
up and down with racing. So it's quite a different game to what we do now. But he won that event already, and as long as I'm doing slalom on tour, which is also I literally started 10 years ago,
Yeah.
he was already doing slalom at the same time. So of course I was working my ass off all winter, la 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 la, while this guy was freestyling around. So of course his focus was a little different, but he already has quite a bag of competition experience. He has an overloaded bag of talent.
Well,
And
yeah,
then
that's what I mean. A jibe for him on the foil. I mean, when you look at a
fuck,
double
like,
air culo.
the last month I'm kind of went too much on the fin, and now I felt like, oh, I'm a bit shaky in the jibes. Amado, he just grabs the stuff and he goes. It doesn't really matter. Oh, I have to put the body position a bit more like this, and he just adjusts. No,
The funny
and that's
thing I
very,
remember,
very impressive to see.
I was going to say when that foil tack come out, someone posted a video and it was like, oh my God, foil
It
tack.
took him one day.
And then I was going to say, I spoke to Amado
took
because
him
he sent me a video. He goes, yeah, I just tried it a couple of times. And then I'm like, and then I was thinking about it, and he's already got a video, foil intact, like the next day. I was thinking, yeah, but after you're doing double air culos, air scopu, whatever, cabbies and all this sort of stuff, you're thinking, God, a foil intact for this guy, surely there's not too many things to work out. It's physics,
No,
it's a bit of this, it's a
no.
bit of this. And, he's got the skill. I find impressive is for him to win in an upwind, downwind, he doesn't have the racing junior level background, does he? You know, he's not been to training
No, no,
camp.
no, no. When you
He's
have
not got that
the big techno RSX background, and then you're going up and down with racing, it's a very different game. You know, and
Yeah.
that yeah, that was very impressive on that win. But again, this win for him, I guess, is not even a little less impressive. I mean,
Was it a surprise? Like, what was the fleet thinking? Were they expecting him
I
to
think
put in?
for him to win, it was maybe a surprise. You know, in Croatia, he already won, I think, 2 eliminations, and he was on it. You know, I think he finished 5th or 6th while being over early in the first 2 eliminations for absolutely no reason in the first round. But I think the most impressive, like I personally did not expect him to be consistent over 10 eliminations to take the win.
Yeah.
You know, like I knew he's flying, and no doubt, also no doubt that he would be capable of doing it. But yeah, it came a little bit as a surprise. I also think I think would not be surprised if it also came as a surprise for himself.
Yeah. I mean, we're obviously going to talk about Maciek as well, because, you know, I'm absolutely going on about Amado and stuff, but Maciek was literally leading the whole week. And the only time he wasn't leading was after the last race, which we didn't know was going to be the last race. And he lost by 1 point.
I mean,
and if Amado hadn't have got that what he got in the last race, he wouldn't have. You know, it was coming down to very fine margins.
I mean, it was funny that I was on the beach. Amado finishes 2nd, and I hear like "fuck," and I was like, "Well, someone is not happy." And then, like, Amado was out there, never making up any calculation. He did not know he had to become 2nd to take the lead. You know, he had no clue. He had absolutely no clue. Maciek knew. He had the calculations done, like, okay, if he finished 2nd, I'm fucked, and all that kind of stuff. So the moment Amado crossed the line, Maciek knew, okay, I lost the lead of the event, and with 3 days of onshore coming up, that's probably where I lost the event.
Yeah, I actually tuned in. I'd just been away, we had some family issues, but and I saw the end of it, and I thought, that's it. You know, you look at the forecast and you go, that's it. And I felt for Maciek at that point, because that would have been his first event win. And then I also read, you know, Maciek's post, and he pretty much summed up what I was thinking. You know, before the event, 2nd Maciek, you want to take it? Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm there. What a result. Brilliant. But when you've been leading all week and then you just drop. Oh,
I mean, it's you know, that first of all hurts. And 10 eliminations, 2 discards, so 8 eliminations counting, and 1 point. Like 1 point.
It's and you know, at this point, I think in the competition, nobody knew if Japan was on, or maybe you boys did.
We knew, like, let's say before the event, we already knew that Tenerife was shaky, and that it most likely was going to be cancelled. But Japan said, like, hey, we just wait for one signature, but this event will go ahead, and we're about to release the notes of race in a couple of days. So I think we all went in our mind knowing that we would need to go to Japan as well.
Because, I mean, if Japan obviously hadn't been on, that would have been the world title. Which,
well,
I mean,
he would not sleep. He would not sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it's mad.
The funny thing is, of course, if it comes down to a battle between those two again, of course, Amado is in. It's always better to go there having a win in the bag from Sylt than to have a 2nd. But I actually don't know what the rule is if, for example, Maciek wins in Japan and Amado is 2nd.
Well, as far as I know, I think it goes down to who won the last.
I think
because there's lots of countbacks, but I'm pretty sure.
I think it will go down to who won the last race.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem I see with Japan, and it's an awesome place, but I know before we went there last time, they were clearing weed. And with the foil. I mean, I don't know. Let's wait and see, because I know they did a really good job with the boats, and they had lots of stuff going on.
I mean,
Is it in the same place?
all the credits to the Japanese, because the first time we arrived, we go on the water, we come back, and we're like, "Jeez, this place is full of seaweed. What the
Yeah,
hell?" And then the Japanese started shaking, like, "Oh, seaweed, they don't like. We have to do something." And the next day we come back, and there's like 4 boats in the water with 4 people on each boat, with a diving crew going down, cutting the seaweed, and like boats collecting the seaweed and try to take as much as possible out. And even though it was still quite shit, we were not complaining about it anymore, because we saw the amount of effort they were putting in. It
yeah.
was very nice to see. But I
But
know in Holland we also have seaweed at some spots, but usually it's only in a certain time of the year. So
okay,
for 3-4 months there is seaweed. Usually we were going in spring to
yes,
Japan. Now we will be there in November.
good
So
point.
I kind of have some hopes
Yes,
that we don't have weed due to being there in a different time of the year. That's kind
yeah.
of my hope towards the fact.
That sounds fair. I think that sounds fair enough. There's a lot of places like that. Certain times of year, that's when you find it, and like you say, we're going at a different time.
Yeah,
I've
usually it
got
was
to
like
give.
May.
Hang on, before we go any further, I've got to give Nico Preen a shout out. Look at that super chat, €5 to listen to
We
Geordie Vonk. Cheers, Nico. Like I said, if you are just tuning in, Geordie Vonk here. We're just going to kind of wrap up or talk about Sylt. Obviously, no live stream. Well, no official live stream. I've got to say, massive thanks to the guys at, I think it's Surf Magazine Sylt. I actually thought it was Surf Magazine, the main one, but it's actually Surf Magazine Sylt, small company or whatever on Sylt, which is doing quite a good job. And they put on the stream for free. And I saw a few people moaning. And I thought, come on. These guys are literally doing it for free. You've got to give them some credit, because actually, the bits that I watched, and I obviously covered some on Windsurfing.TV as well, it was really quite a good angle from up there. They only had one camera at one point, and it was very watchable. Like the actual action, you could see pretty much what was going on.
I mean, and I don't know if you've seen the picture from the guy standing there sometimes in the piss pouring rain.
That's what people don't realize. I've got to give them credit, because it is horrible. Like, if you're getting paid, it's horrible, because you're not getting paid much for usually the camera guys that are there, and they're always moaning. These guys were doing it free and still having the same conditions. I was like, oh my God. And actually, Thomas, I've just seen a comment from him. He actually stepped in to commentate from Sweden, which is quite mad, and it worked quite well as well. So I think they all chipped in, and they definitely gave you something to watch. I thought it was quite cool. Hank says he wants to see you at Dam X. Are you going to Dam X?
Yeah, from tomorrow on, we have Dam X at the Browse Dam. Nice event with some clinics, some slalom fundraising. There will be a freestyle show. There's actually wind and some sun on the forecast, so doesn't get much better than that.
When's that?
This weekend. Tomorrow
This
afternoon
weekend.
it starts, and then Saturday, Sunday, nice little party Saturday evening. So
little party in Holland. It doesn't happen, does it?
Oh, it's a big one. It's a big one.
How's the forecast? Looks good.
It's unbelievable. Like a windsurf event with sun and wind. I mean,
winner.
It's
those guys do a
I
good
guess
job,
we gotta
though.
get very, very lucky.
Karma. So Thomas says, Amado said his goal for IQ foil is 105 kilos. So when foil kicked off, I always remember thinking, oh, maybe the light guys are going to get. No, it's like almost people have to be heavier.
I really think it started coming from Luc van op Zeeland, the Dutch guy who is 2 meter, I don't know, 2 meter 3, 2 meter 4. Like, I'm small compared to the guy.
Yeah.
And I think during the first races he was like close to 110 kilo. Yeah. And the guy is flying on the IQ stuff, right? Like, well, he's not slow on the slalom either, but on the IQ stuff, he was flying. So everyone was kind of seeing like, oh shit, we need to be heavy for this. And from that moment on, Yeah, it seems like the whole fleet was on a weight gainer. Like everyone is just trying to
So,
be heavy.
so the problem here is there's a lot of people that have crossed over from RSX, which body structure wise, they weren't the biggest. So now you've got a lot of these guys who maybe aren't the biggest trying to get to these kind of almost, by the sounds of it, ridiculous weights. It's going to be interesting to see what the next generation of foilers look like, because I always like the difference between the Olympic class and the PWA, because the Olympic class was a kind of a lighter, let's say, general size. Like you could be, especially when I did it, Mistral One design, it was like 60, 70 kilos, 68, 70 kilos. So there was a lighter sort of category for if you wanted to take windsurfing to a next level. But now it feels like all the weight categories for good, racing, you need to be heavy. Like it's well, by the sounds of it.
I mean, to be competitive, I guess so. I mean, again, I'm not too much into the IQ foil. I tried the gear once, but I'm not competing. But all I hear from there is that they're trying to gain weight. Like
Yeah.
it seems to be a thing, and I can imagine that if we keep it a little bit Dutch, that Kieran, the current Olympic champion, he was 72 kilos, I believe, during the Olympics.
Yeah.
Fuck, if you want to be steady 30 kilos more, it takes you some time. It really takes you some time,
Yeah.
because if you go to the McDonald's every day, 5 times a day, and you become 100 kilo that way, you go sailing for a couple of hours and you just lose it like this again.
Yeah.
Because windsurfing is quite an endurance sport. Like I always see that in Tenerife, I'm most likely making the most hours in a row, especially. And fuck, usually I'm losing so much weight by just doing this, not even taking care of eating little or whatever. No, I try to eat a lot, but I would still lose weight.
Well, it's
So
maybe
for those guys to be, let's say, over 90 steady throughout all the events, I think it's quite a mission.
and it's like they're long events. Like when you look at the world's strongest man and you see how much those guys have to eat to stay, because they have to be heavy. If
It's
you haven't got the
ridiculous.
weight, you can't do it. So you like, I mean, it's a different level, but it's kind of the same. But the windsurfers have got it worse because it's a long endurance event. So you're
Hmm.
then burning so many calories. Like it must be mad. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm really interested. Let's go back to Sylt talking about standouts for me. So obviously, I watched a bit of the live stream, commented on a few things. So a couple of things that I noticed. They're going to run through them. The Beast, Johan. So, how old is he? 19.
He's
Danish.
19.
Danish
It's
19. He's built like a Viking, isn't he?
and
He's a
it's
big fella.
unbelievable. I mean, referring to myself, like Jesus, I was a skinny boy of 75 kilos with hardly any muscles on that age. And the guy is I mean, he's tall,
Yeah.
muscled, like, but
How tall
proper
is he
muscled.
compared to
He,
you? What are we talking?
like 100,
How
he's like
tall?
100 kilo.
But how tall? Your height?
I guess he's above 190.
Yeah.
Above 190,
100
maybe
kilos.
195, somewhere in that range. I can't put a exact number on it, but maybe actually online it says. But
But at 19, to have already won a PWA final, that hasn't happened for a long time. Like, has it? Maybe it
no,
has. Like, at 19, I can't remember
no,
someone just coming in, because racing is not like that.
no,
It doesn't
no,
kind of
no,
work
no.
like that. You've definitely got to put some work in somehow and earn your stripes and all this. And he seems to have just come in and gone, yeah, whatever. I'm
I mean,
I'm on it.
it kind of happened last year at the Defi Win Superstars.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that edition. He was competing, and it was already like, first of all, who is this guy? Second of all, what the fuck is he doing here in the top 10? Like, hello, we've never heard from you. And on the Defi
Exactly.
Win, where we are, I don't know. I think that edition we did like 27 kilometers or something. And I remember I was in front, but one race it was windy on the foil. I was dying on my 7.8. He was with a 9 meter in front of me, and I could not pass him for 25 kilometers. and I was like, who the hell is this guy?
It's ridiculous. I mean, I think he is
Yeah.
youth world champion, youth European champion.
Yeah,
sure.
he's for sure IFCA youth world champion, European champion.
Yeah.
I think in the IQ foil he was also first at some championships. But let's say that's the event where we started to be like, wow, this
Yes.
guy is impressive. You know,
Because at the
let's see on a short slalom course, but on the long distance stuff, like wow.
Yeah. And then, but that's the hard thing, isn't it? I said actually the first time I really noticed him was I've seen him last year, seen a few things at the Superstars, but in the Defi Wind, normal Defi Wind earlier this year, I came in and I think I was on a 4-2 wave sail or something like this. But it was one on the first day, and he was on a 7-0, and there was other people on 5-8 slaloms, and I was like, oh yeah, and I was thinking, oh, you must have got nuked, you must have got, hang on. He was still top 10. He was like on a 7-0, and everyone else was on 5-8, like below 6 meters. He got stuck, got caught out, but he still managed to get top 10, which is, for me, to do that, like you say, over distance, he has got a cruising speed of insane. Like that's to do well in the Defi, you need luck with equipment choice or something. He didn't have that. And he still was managing.
He made it happen. Yeah.
That's bonkers. I find that
that was literally the second event, like the Defi Wind. We were like, okay, this guy not bad. And then there was the actual Defi Wind. And then it was like, okay, you are here playing with us, huh?
Yeah. And then again, because we haven't had many competitions this year, obviously Croatia happened, but it wasn't a full points scoring event. But nearly everyone, most of the boys were there.
I mean, most of the guys were there. I mean, I always feel it feels a little different somehow when it's not a full counting event. But yeah. I mean, he was about to win his first elimination already there.
Yeah,
he was 7th in the event. He was doing a 4th. He was doing a 2nd. I think he had another 2nd place. So already there, we actually knew already. Like in Croatia was really the moment. Like, okay, you're gonna be one of the guys fighting with us. Like it was no doubt anymore. So for sure to now in Sylt, I mean, he just keeps on delivering. He keeps the level, and Croatia was a bit easier conditions as it was not so wavy. But it all this doesn't really seem to matter.
Yeah, I mean that's him. He's obviously on 0.7 sails. He's on FMX boards. I should really mention Amado as well. Just before we leave Amado, I mean, how good was that signing for Future Fly? I mean, when that came out, they announced it. I spoke to Arnon because we announced it on Windsurfing.TV, and I was like, how have you done that? But Arnon, knows everyone and he's got a good thing going and whatever. But that is very good signing, isn't it? He's won a freestyle world title already. He's now already.
Yeah, this is the 3rd year of the brand. If you can claim a freestyle title in the 2nd year, and if you can claim a slalom title in the 3rd year of your brand existence, that's obviously obviously very impressive. And he literally could not have done a better signing.
Yeah, but it's interesting he even went there. Like I found that quite interesting. There's a lot of big brands out there who want him, but Amado kind of seems that he does what he wants.
Yeah, but he was super keen to stay with Severn. You have a lot of these brands where if you have Duotone, you have Fnatic. If you like there these comic, if you have Gaster, you have Albeau. And with Severn, he kind of had the choice to pick something else than Severn boards. Like he had before he was on JP, if I remember right.
Yeah,
and with Arnon. Yeah, it felt right, I guess. With Tati, they had an amazing relationship.
I mean, that's a big thing, isn't it? Teammates do make, it makes it easier. You're training in Bonaire, you're designing or you're helping tune stuff. And if you're on the same gear, it makes a lot of sense, I think. But that's kind of an interesting one. I mean, FMX is a good one as well. I mean, since they signed Matchek, Johan, they've got a few riders right up there. Who else? Someone else just recently signed for them as well.
No, but they have Basile Jacquin is also with
Yeah.
them already. There is some more French, Delphine Cousin, also with FMX. So yeah, for let's say small brand. I don't know if we can allow, or we're allowed to say call it a small brand, but like
I
a
think that's fair enough.
pretty fresh brand. Let's say they have quite some team riders, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, interesting. Just touch on it. A lot of people asking why is there no women in Sylt. I think we could go back to that shore break and just realize that the first picture I actually had up for anyone who's listening audio was a picture of Sebastian Kördel in the shore break. Arnon was helping him, and there was a look of terror on his face. The reason there was a look of terror because he had no front wing, like front foil wing on the fuselage. It's gone. So, it can be very expensive. 1 foot of shore break, especially, the women are naturally smaller, shorter than the guys. And when you've got a meter of mast on your foil, if you're shorter, that extra height makes a big difference as well. I mean, and you've got to have a, muscle to push through the shore break. I don't think it's a great event for the women, I would have said. No, is that the reasoning? I don't know if that is the reasoning, but I would imagine
no, but Sarah Jackson was working for the social media on the event, and she also said like the first day we raced and we did 4 eliminations, she said like I would not be able to go out right now.
Yeah,
again, the boys are a lot taller than the women in average.
Yeah,
and it was already carnage, and on the forecast there was like 6 seconds, 0.7 meter.
Yeah.
And it was already getting tricky. I think out of the 3 different days that we raced, I think one of the days they could go out.
Yeah.
The other days they would just not have managed. And it's not because they're not good enough, right? It's just physically not possible for them. Yeah, or everyone needs to have a caddy who's bringing the gear in and out. But
it can be expensive, let's not count out that a lot of guys ruin some gear and also damage themselves. I saw was Thomas Goya there? Did I see some stuff like he was all cut up?
No, Thomas Goya, no, but I think Arnon had like 2-3 battens broken, ripping through the sail. There was a Belgium guy where we heard like clack 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 clack, like all his battens breaking. Basti lost the front wing. I'm quite sure someone broke a mast. It was carnage. It was a mess.
Yeah. Right. Also, we're going to talk about. Actually, let's share the results because what I'm going to do is just go down the results. We're going to pick out a few people because there was a few surprises. I thought we've obviously talked about Amado. I mean, Matchek, we got to say. Already said it, but leading all the way till that last race. I kind of feel for him, but at the same time, second in Sylt, that's an amazing result anyway. But you kind of, I feel for him. That's I think he would have wanted more. Mortafon, Giacchino, both of those boys racing so solid all week, and I think that came down to a point or something like that at the end. I'll just
always there. I mean, both of them always there, super consistent. It was Matteo with 30 points and Pierre with 31.7 points. So that's 1.7 points in between.
So and that was like I did read. I have to put it out there. I did read some social media. One of them was from the Italian, Bruno, and he was moaning about light winds, not good. But the feeling I got from everyone that was there was that you really enjoyed the racing. Is that fair to say? Or what was the general opinion?
The general opinion was. I mean, there's always mixed opinions, right? Like. The first elimination, I know I was with Bruno. The first elimination, we arrive second and third at the first buoy, and we both stop, and we don't foil for like 40 seconds, and they didn't cancel, And some others around us, they kind of jibed on the wave and managed to get going. So I think he kind of lost already his mood there. Like I got pissed, but I pumped and I finished 6th or whatever, sit down, breathe in and out and go on to the next one. But I think Bruno had really got in the head, like, fuck, I'm fast. I was there. I was in right position. I stopped. They don't cancel. What are they doing?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's been a couple of races where I was like, we're really playing with the limits right now.
Yeah.
You know,
I could feel that.
so
Like from speaking to people, you could feel that. But then you could feel also the people, a lot of them, like the argument being, look, this is what the organizers paying us to be here for. They want
I mean,
us
the
to
funny
put
thing
on a
is, like,
show.
we set a rule where we say, like, okay, we can race down to 5 knots, and 5 knots is not a lot of wind.
No,
You
that's
know,
nothing.
and we are very used to races getting canceled quickly.
Yeah.
And I guess after this event, everyone realizes, like, okay, I need some room to pump as well, because we're not we're really really lowered the wind limit.
Can I so adding to that argument is also there's an interesting one because I noticed this in France when the event didn't happen. But I'm looking out there, the slalom guys can't get going on the foil. And then I look up, Bulls Muller on a 5.0, 5.3, he's foiling around. And I was like, it literally was a moment where I had this moment. I thought, what the hell's going on here? And then someone explained it to me. They're like, yeah, well, now they're slalom, they want to go fast. So they're using smaller wings. The problem is with a smaller wing, you need to be going at a certain speed to get the lift from the wing. But if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
use a
yeah.
bigger wing, you will go slow, but you will foil earlier. And the problem is, by the time guys are foiling, the big wing's too slow. So there's this problem where, again, you correct me, and this is what I kind of took from it. So when you first started doing slalom foiling, people were using 900 wings. Would that be fair? Maybe, I don't know. And then now I'm hearing people are on 600s as their biggest, 650s as their biggest foil wings. I know it's changed because I think Maciek told me they were measuring in span now as well, and it's not so
I
clear.
mean,
But just to keep
the
it
thing is,
simple.
like, there's different ways to get power from a foil. You can create it by surface. So you talk about the surface of the foil, which gives a certain amount of power. But now, once the span width got wider, you kind of create power from the span width of the foil.
Okay.
So if you have a super, so in terms of surface, so in terms of square centimeter, it's maybe only 620, but it has more power than a foil with 800 square centimeter,
Gotcha.
but less of a span.
Gotcha.
You know, so that's why it's kind of tough to look at wings and judging the power by the square centimeter.
Okay.
You know, and that's
That
why
makes
we
sense.
start to look more at the span, because it looks like the span is very important of the amount of power the foil creates.
And that's the problem with foiling at the moment. For someone like me who's done a bit, understand a little bit, you know, I haven't got my numbers in my head yet. Like if you tell me I'm on a 5.0 wave sail bend, I'm like, okay, my brain just automatically calculates what that is, how windy
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is,
yeah.
what's going on. You know, same with slalom. I'm on a 7.8 and my medium with I'm like, my brain just calculates it automatically. But now with foiling, the numbers don't quite equate because I'm not in it enough like you guys.
No, but you need to be in it. You need to
Yeah.
be completely in it to understand. Like it almost gets annoying. I mean, if we communicate between the guys, it's always medium, big, or small. You know, are you in medium wing? Yes or no? You know, like obviously you register three
Give,
wings.
like just for guys at home, just try and explain roughly what gear people are using in terms of foils, mast lengths. Has anything changed? What's going on at the moment within racing foiling?
So let's say the mast length, I guess, are all varying between the 95 centimeter and the 101.
Okay.
So close, just over a meter. That's
Meter.
that's
Okay.
the average mast length. Then the fuselage is there. You see some different combinations. I think 100, so exactly a meter, is the most average one.
Okay.
There is some brands who have 95 and 105. There's some who have a meter and 110. You know, like it seems like a meter is the most common, the most used one. And for
Okay.
light winds, I, for example, have a 105 option. I know some people have a 110 option. And obviously, the longer the fuselage, the more power it creates.
Yeah.
The shorter, more speed, but also less stable. So you need to find your sweet spot there. Front wings, we are allowed to register 3.
Okay.
In terms of square centimeter, I registered a 420, a 560, and a 620.
Okay.
But then again, a 620 sounds
It's tiny.
very small. But
Yeah.
before I was using starboard, and there I had the 800 square centimeter, and the power is the same.
Okay.
You know,
So
the
that's
power is the
coming
same.
from the span.
And that's
The
coming from the span, because the span is like 800. I think it's mine are 800, 700, 600 something. I am too scared to call a exact number on
So
it there.
you're using F4 foils, is that right?
I'm using F4 foils. Yeah. So
So what would you say is the most? I mean, because obviously foils are going to be like fins. Is there a standout foil at the moment? You know, I know Maciek is not. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure he's tying himself to one foil anymore. I think he's gone open. I don't know.
yeah.
Is
I
that
mean,
fair to say?
it's somewhere safe. If you check now, I mean, we have the top 10 in front of us. So let's just mention the
Yeah.
foils. Is Amado Z foil,
Z. Okay.
Maciek Z foil,
Okay.
Matteo Z foil.
Oh. Okay. Well,
Oh,
that's,
we'll get back.
yeah.
We'll get back to this. Then there's Pierre with the Phantom.
Okay.
Then Mateus with the Z foil. Enrico with the New Pride. Johan with the F4. Basti with the Z. Nico with the Phantom, and then me again with the F4.
Okay. So there's definitely a theme in there.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of people on the Z foil at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean this one is from what I
But that's
believe.
a big change, isn't it? Because I mean, as far as I know, there weren't so many before. Well, before this year.
No,
Was
before
there?
this year, almost none. I think it was just Arnon, but Arnon kept on developing, and I guess he did a good job.
Yeah.
And you can see that quite some guys who yeah, I think I can mention, but last year some guys who were on the starboard, they now all changed to the Z.
Yeah.
And obviously all those guys, they are like somehow no surprising names, no, like they're all good races.
Yes.
But they seem to have their stuff together, and in the meantime, like I'm quite convinced there is a couple, like when you have a Z, New Pride, Phantom, F4, I guess those 4 are the foil brands at the moment. I mean, you see
Well,
them
you can,
all.
like when you're reading them out there, you're seeing in that top 10, a couple of Phantoms, a couple of F4s, quite a few Zs. Interesting, like very interesting. I mean, again, it's going to take time to iron out the bits and pieces, isn't it? Like anything, like board design, sail design. And then you get to a point
Sure.
where there's little bits and you have to pick them for your own. I guess it's still personal. Would that be fair to say as well? So maybe a foil that you would like, maybe someone else wouldn't like. Is it like that, or is it very much this is a freaking good foil?
I mean, it's a mix. I do believe there's a bit of a personal touch in it, but I also believe that that a good foil is a good foil.
So
like
what's the payoff? Is it like that? Is it like power versus speed versus what's the balance? How does it work? Like, is it?
Yeah, it's tough. In the end, it's tough to say, no. Like in the end, it should do it all, because you can be fast, but if you cannot jibe with the foil, you will be nowhere, And if your foil jibes amazing, but you're 7th arriving at the first mark, you will you will not do good also, and in the end, it's tough to say, because for example, the last day I had some races with Amado. I celebrated I told him after that race I should go to the beach and never go again. I rolled him the first reach, and in the meantime that day his results were 3rd, 2nd, and my results were 13th, 10th, 18.5. So
Still got a race. That's the thing. You've still got a race, and that's there is. I was going to say that I know there's a lot of people pushing to have a Finn only tour. Would that be right?
Yeah, there is some stuff happening on the background.
Yeah, so that's not a bad thing. I think that's good, and I definitely see the foil as the future. But at the same time, I think it's squeezing a few people out because it's so technical. I would imagine it's so expensive, or it's going to take a flip of generations to get. You know what I mean? Like, it needs something to happen. Because I look at how many people who are in Sylt. Just for my own, personal thing of seeing over the years, and it says 34 riders. I would say that's less than usual.
I've checked the last time we did only Finn, it was 61.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's tough to say what what the direction is and what we're going. Obviously, what we do now is super technical. I mean, especially with all the front wings and the back wings and fuselages. I mean, I think a complete race set is 4,000 euros, and then I just mean
the what it is. So 4,000 euros. What do you get?
Probably one mast, 2 fuselages, 3 front wings, and 1 or 2 back wings.
Okay. And
I see a question coming in like, huh? I see a question coming in like, is Finn racing dead? I mean, it's kind of well, it's hard to say. Like, if we keep going this direction where we leave everything open and we let the foil do its thing, yeah, Finn will be dead quite soon, because we are getting faster and faster, and it looks like every year the competitiveness of the foil is moving up by like 5 knots. Like, it was 15 knots some years ago, then it was 20, then it's 25, now it's probably 30. I mean, yeah, of course, no surprise, by 2 years it's probably 35. Just if we go to places like Pozo, that's, I think, where it's going to be tough to beat the Finn, especially because going in and out with the foil on places like that is going to be quite horrible too.
Do you see like Finn only events in the future? Like, is that the way to keep it alive, or are you on the page that you just pick whether you want a foil or a Finn? It's up to you. Are you still on that?
I mean, in the end, in light winds, there is no way around the foil. It's first of all, it's amazing. You don't have so many cancellations. It's not bumping in difficult conditions. Is much less physical. Like, it's just better. It's just better. But then again, on the high wind side, like the moment we've passed that and we are to, let's say, 7-8 medium nice slalom conditions, I mean, there is a way to continue the tour by narrowing everything down to only big foil stuff and the rest Finn. That would be the only way how Finn can survive in the current situation. So where we just literally race on big foil stuff, and you're only allowed to register 1 board, 1 sail, 1 foil. And the moment that's too big, you have to switch to Finn. There's no way around it. If you let it open, I mean, the only way to keep Finn alive is then to do separate events. Because if we're gonna wait for whatever to arrive, no, then there's no way of keeping the Finn.
Yeah, it's like an evolution thing, because I'm a big fan of Finn racing, and I know it's not the same argument as a lot of the guys that do the tour, because I mean, there's a question there, Geordie, what do you prefer, foil or Finn?
I mean, I'm still, I mean, nothing beats a 5/8 small board Finn session, like again, I really like the foil in certain conditions, right? But if I can choose, we would go to Fuerteventura and race on the 5/8, like, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I would not say like, oh no, 8 to 12 knots side short. No, the 35 knots half dying.
What about 7-0?
Huh?
What about 7.0
Also,
slalom?
also, to be honest, in Sylt, I was actually very pissed one day because we had onshore 15 to 20 knots, absolutely perfect conditions for 7/8 medium, rolling waves. Like if you ask me, dream conditions, like
Yeah.
difficult, wavy, choppy, like awesome slalom conditions, and we didn't go, especially because a lot of guys didn't register medium board. They didn't register 7/8 fin sills. And it was dead onshore, so there's no way to get out with the foil. And that's why I actually got pissed. Where I was like, hey, I registered this stuff. Like, we can race
Yeah.
right now. Like, can I get the benefit from actually being prepared for these conditions we
Yeah.
have? And
Yeah.
yes, we were foiling in 7 to 10 knots, and it was great to have a show then, but we don't have a show now. So, hello.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we should be aware of this. Like we should be ready to go out. Like, we could have done easily 3 more eliminations with 7/8 medium fin conditions, which would have shaken up the results a little bit as well, I guess. But I don't believe with the foil you can be ready for everything, because in onshore 15 to 20 knots you just cannot go out. Like, you will break
Yeah.
everything, including yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Danny says, I don't agree. It's more technical. With slalom, I have 3 boards and 3 fins per board. Foil made my life easier, but I'm not competing on the PWA. The problem I find as a what am I? I don't even know. I'm like not a professional racer. I enjoy racing. My problem is I know that you have to have your foil tuned perfectly. If you don't, you are losing speed.
Yeah.
So because I spent time on slalom equipment and fins, I kind of know the feel. Whereas on a foil, I know without doing tuning and without getting everything right, and that will change, I'm guessing, over time.
Nah, but I think, when
Maybe it's
you,
already changed.
yeah, but of course you need 3 boards and 3 fins, let's say. But you can buy a good fin and you put it on the board and you can go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
what I
buy a
mean.
good foil. You can buy a good foil, but you need to make sure that the angle in your whole board is right.
Yes, this is the
Then you
problem.
need to make sure you have the right setup, because it's not like, okay, I'm on a 7/9 foil, I need this setup. It's not like this. And then you need to find the right backwing angle, which is coming down to 0.3 millimeter. Like, I'm trying to get shims made per 0.3 millimeter. A millimeter is too much difference.
That's just mad, isn't it?
Like,
I
and a
mean,
fin,
that's what scares me. I'll be
I
honest. That's
mean,
what scares me.
yeah,
Like,
but
if I
it
knew I could buy the same foil, exactly the same foil, and put it in the board, and I know I would be a bit more happy. But I just know it's at the moment when you've got a tottle box and shims, and you need to be on it. If you're not on
yeah,
it,
yeah.
I don't
And the
know.
thing is, they cannot make the foils in a way that someone can just put it and go. The problem is it's not possible. Also the position of the foil depends per board that you're using. It
Yeah,
depends on your scoop rocker line and the nose of the
yeah,
board and all these kind of things. So it's not like, so why are the foil brands not making it in a way that you can just put it like this?
yeah.
It's not possible. I
It's
think
mad,
there
isn't
is
it?
there is also a sailing class where you have this automatic kind of
Yes.
changing
Yeah, yeah.
wing.
Self-leveling, blah blah, automatic.
Exactly, like, I think it's difficult to create something like this for windsurfing, but it kind of shows that there is not a from the box straight on setting that works. You need to play with shims and the way you put it in a board if you want to get the maximum out of it.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, it's interesting. So you can go so deep on it, but like you say, or like a lot of people say, windy slalom. For me, full power slalom, whatever that might be. You might be on a 7.0, but it doesn't matter. Full power slalom. It's close. I know it. I watched the foiling. It is close, but there's something about windy slalom. It is hectic, isn't it? Like when you see the Furta heats and just some of the crazy stuff. Like if we went to windy places, Yeah, interesting. And talking of windy slalom, the guy who's been, from what I've been watching, obviously the world champ from last year. What happened to him? Nico Goya. So when you watch him in the windy stuff on the foil, he's been killing it. He's been killing it in other stuff. But at this event, I really didn't hear his name mentioned hardly at all. He was almost anonymous. Now, don't get me wrong, he still finished in the top 10, ninth, which is not a bad result, you know. But when you're the reigning world champion and everyone's talking about you, what's going on there? Any information on that?
I mean, I think he was also mentally struggling a little bit, so it's hard to tell where that exactly came from. And the thing is, he was still fast, like he was still fast. It was not that he was slow, but I also do believe it's hard to compare his world title last year with what we're doing now. Like last year we had, let's say, every day between the 15 and 25 knots of wind. He had small foil stuff and he was 3 knots faster than all of us, because we were not prepared. The other two which were a little bit prepared for this were Pierre and William, which finished second and third in Israel. They were prepared for this. And like my biggest front, like my smallest front wing last year was basically bigger than by my biggest one now. So
it's so fast, isn't it?
Yeah, my smallest foil was a 7.8 and his one was like a 6.0. Like he was on such another game. Like he was winning almost every elimination because he was on another level. Like he had gear basically nobody had, and he squeezed it out completely. Like he was playing with us. He was just winning by miles.
So
and now we are.
No, I was going to say, are we talking like that's, when Matt Check did the podcast with Kevin Pritchard, Bjorn, they came through that whole time where development was massive. Like if you weren't nerding out, if you weren't on it and you didn't have the newest, greatest, latest, you're getting left behind. So the foiling over the last few years has been like that. And Goya is on it, isn't he? From what I can understand, he's 3D printing shims. He's designing the boards.
But he's a bit of an engineer, I think he's designing the boards himself. He is a bit of an engineer, and I think that helped him a lot. And the fact that we are foiling in these high conditions is because of him. I think if like in the end he kind of showed us the way. Like at the Defi Wind last time, I was fighting on the 5.8 and he was doing it on a foil and winning. Like he's the one who is pushing the level. And he's been pushing it now for a couple of years, and we were following all the way. But now it kind of got back into the foil conditions foiling, and it's different. Like last year he could start bad and still win. Now if he start bad, he was not passing a heat. I've seen him making some crashes at the jibe, because it was tough conditions. No, like it's not everyone had a little crash here and there, let's say.
I mean, that's what you couldn't see on the stream. On the videos, you can't see it. I've been to Sylt. That water looked beautiful on the stream.
but it was crazy because one time I missed out on the final because I fully slammed into the mark, and it was just because you jibe and the current would just push me towards the mark, and I didn't see it coming, and I suddenly hit it. And if you look out, you go like, Jordy, that buoy is there for ages. What the fuck are you doing? But in the meantime, it's this current which is pushing you in unexpected places. So it's so much tougher than what it looks like on camera.
Because the water's moving. It literally does. Like the freestylers, you could see as well. They take off on this, and then it would move like this. So the landing, and I guess with the foil, you're trimming that high, and then the water's moving. And
it was super tough. And don't get me wrong, I think he after 2 days or something, he was winning an elimination again, like just kind of showing like, hey, I'm still there, guys. And then he did
Yeah.
like I think another winner final and some like he's showing that he's still one of the guys, and he didn't seem to be on it, maybe a bit mentally. But I would not be surprised if Japan, that he fully bounces back. I think also with the IQ foil, there is some load on him, and they have the IQ Worlds in 2 weeks. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely not his event, but he can bounce back for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Action media for all. In the late 90s, the PWA made windsurfing too technical, 10 boards, etc. And they lost contact to the customer who windsurfs the spot, almost died, which with foil, they risk of making the same mistake. I mean, to answer that, I think there's a problem anytime there's a development stage, which is what foil is in at the moment. So in the 90s, let's say, there was such a big development stage that, like you say, every event, or when you listen to some of these podcasts that Matchek's done, you speak to Bringdal and Roberto Ricci and these guys, and they're like, God, they would, or Tomlin, you turn up to one event with 20 boards and they would go, oh, this one's like the golden board, no one's got it. And then they would come up with a flapper design, and then they would come up with the carbon fins, and then someone would come up with flex top sail, or that's crazy. But that's why windsurfing was so technical and moving so fast, that I agree it did lose people, but then it stabilizes at some point. It kind of has to stabilize, and that's kind of the shame with slalom had kind of stabilized, which is good maybe for the punter, maybe not for the brands, I don't know. But, it's stabilized, and a lot of the boards were good with little tweaks, different styles. A lot of the sails were good. People were working everything out. And then it's gone from that now to the foil, where you boys are now the guys pushing, turning up with, but it's also production, which is also a bit, I kind of feel it should almost be custom just to push it quickly.
So we have that left behind.
But exactly. Someone's going to lose out, because to make all this equipment to push the level, there's a lot of gear that's kind of useless a year later, and this is the difficulty, I think, for a lot of the brands and people trying to ride behind you guys, going, okay, so they see you guys doing this, they go, right, I'm going to go buy this, and then next year, like, oh, you've got that's shit now. You need this, and you're like, oh no. But again, it depends on the level you're trying to get to. And with foiling, I really feel it's already quieting down a bit, but it's still moving, isn't it? It's still
for sure.
Still going away.
I mean, in slalom boards, we're changing. I remember for the development for the next year boards, we bring out a new slalom and a new small and a new medium board, and we were working on millimeters, changing millimeters. Then we finished, millimeter too much. No, millimeter back. Okay, perfect. Then we go to the foil boards. Centimeters, cut, chopping off the nose. Okay, 3 more centimeters. Okay, chopping up the nose, like centimeters. The moment we did 1 centimeter on the slalom board, we're like, fuck, the board is horrible. And then we go 5 millimeter back. Now it's perfect. And on the foil we were centimeters. Like, it's, if you see the development jumps and the differences you make are so much bigger than with the slalom, which we do for ages. It's insane difference. It's absolutely insane difference.
And again, you've moved the foil, you change the foil, the board changes, because I noticed, like, I mean, without looking at the equipment list on the PWA site, there was a few guys racing with smaller boards, which hasn't been a thing until recently, as far as I can understand. This year, people have started racing with smaller boards.
I mean, last year we never thought about it, because we always thought, we have the 91, we need it for the light winds and a bit when it's stronger, and then we go to the medium.
Yeah.
But now you kind of don't need the medium board anymore, because you have the smaller foil board, and the smaller foil board is more competitive than most likely the medium slalom board. So after last year, or actually already halfway, we were like, okay, we need smaller foil boards because we can make small foil sails and small foils. But then if you see me going around with a 91 centimeter board and a 4.5 sail on it, it looks like the board has more area than the sail. That can't be right.
Yeah,
you know
can't be
so
right.
so of course the board goes down too, and we have even three boards in the range, like a 75, a 81, and a 91 wide.
Man,
So
it's tricky. It's like I'm just looking at this comment. Why not stop with foiling from a certain wind force? And I can understand that thinking. I could see a tour where it's like foiling up to 15 knots or whatever it might be, and then slalom after that. The problem is there is it's the foil is getting so much quicker that you're then changing off like this high performance to go on a lesser performance. It doesn't matter because everyone's on the same and it's exciting racing. But I can understand other people who are into the foiling going, well, hang on, why are we going off these things? Because these are the future. But I still understand the old school. It's a fight, I think, and that is going on at the moment, isn't it? I guess
I mean, like, of course we are discussing about the rules all the time, right?
Yeah.
And how to move forward and all that kind of stuff. And the difficult thing is, like, if people are actually foiling mostly in the light winds and then they change to slalom, you know in a rule where we have, let's say, foil until 15 knots and fin from 15 knots on, people always have from both sides something to look at, to look up against, to see both racing. The moment, if you let it go like it is now, yeah, of course you will not see the fin anymore. So is it what we do in the PWA? Should it represent that what the people are doing at home? If it should, yeah, we should just go foiling in light winds and then change to fin. Because seeing people in 25 knots with 420 front wings, flying 30, 35 knots, I will not see it happen so quickly. If I see, on Garda in the morning, I sometimes do a session and I see the people watching me like, oh, you're about to die any second. I would not even go close to this. And this is for a majority of the for the people, and I'm there kind of having fun and pushing my own boundaries, right? But I believe it stands so far away from what the people actually are doing. So what is the right way? I think you cannot ask the riders, because I still love the fin. So I would say, okay, let's go foiling light winds and then change to fin. Perfect. Then I can do what I like. But you will ask Nico, and he was like, no, just foil, or keep it open so I can just foil. You will ask Basile Jacquin, he's like, fuck it, only fin. But like I think a lot of people will talk from their own perspective, so from their own situation, like, okay, I think I can be competitive, or I like it this way, so we should do it this way. And in the end, I think it should be the brands deciding. Because if what we do doesn't represent the market and we don't make promotion for the stuff we have to sell, because that's where our salaries get paid from, then there's no reason for us for them to pay us, so we will not have budgets to raise. So I think it should be the brands deciding what we should do, and of course, if that's a mix with fin and foil, but only light winds foil and high wind fin, whatever, then that's the way to go. But I think the brands have to decide that. To ask a rider, they will always come up with their personal opinions.
Yeah, that's the difficulty, isn't it? Like you say, everyone's got their own personal interests at heart, which is fair enough. But I, like you say, I think the main people to listen to is, well, the people watching, I guess, the people buying the stuff, and the brands that are paying you guys to do it. Because if you're promoting something that maybe they're not selling or are selling, I don't know. Again, I don't know.
I mean, I see here a comment from somebody like, I love watching Formula One, but I drive a 20-year-old Peugeot. Like, I love watching slalom sailors going as fast as possible. La, la, la. Of course, if there would be enough budget to host big events, and there is, let's say, racing teams with some brands, like if Duotone Fnatic has a racing team which creates money and outside sponsors, la la la. And with this, we can go to the PWA and race. Of course, this would be ideal. I mean, this would be a dream. We can do it. We can keep it full foil, do on the side full fin, have both. You know, that's would be perfect. You know, let's keep it a bit Dutch Red Bull Racing. You know, with the Honda engine. You know, like there is so much more around it than just Honda paying this from selling cars. You know, or the Mercedes. You know, like the outside sponsors, they all get to have that racing team in the Formula One, and the amount of prize money they can make in that competition is huge. It's a billion dollar business. But the PWA is not such a business.
It's not the same scale, is it? You know what I mean? It's not the same scale. Like the PWA has to promote windsurfing and has to, you know, I would say encourage people to go windsurfing and buy stuff. That's literally, let's not beat around the bush. That's what it's there to do. It's obviously entertaining, but we want to help motivate would-be racers or free riders to look up to you guys. And that kind of is this motivational thing. So I think it is interesting. Again, only the brands can really tell us what is going on behind the scenes, you know, what they're selling, what they're seeing in the market, because that realistically is why the PWA is there. You know, it's run by the riders and the brands, the PWA. You know, that's who make the decisions. So I guess we are going to have decisions that are made from that. That is why, well, actually, maybe this question, the whole Slalom production was stupid, in my opinion. It didn't help anyone. But again, this did, because what it did is you knew you were buying what the other guys were using, which weirdly, it doesn't make sense, but it kind of does, because slalom boards got easier to use as well. I mean, that definitely happened. I don't think it helped everyone. It definitely helped the bigger slalom guys, because the bigger slalom guys could make those boards work better. I think the smaller guys, like back in the day, like Baker and these guys, they only were competitive because they had custom boards, you know. And that's I say that was the problem. But again, that's a weight thing, and there's a few different opinions on that, I feel. Foil slalom development should be custom. Totally agree. I mean, that's what I originally thought when I was talking about it, because I just thought it would speed up the progression. Because the problem is, as soon as you make it production, it can be outdated very quick, and then it's okay because everyone can buy it. But the problem is, it might already be outdated, and then you've got a load of stock, which I don't know. Again, the brands know more than me. I'm just kind of shooting off the top of my head. I mean, it is getting expensive. I think everyone knows that. And it will. This is going to be the most expensive part of any sport at the beginning, because foiling for us is way at the beginning. You know, for slalom now, I think we've kind of plateaued. We're mixing around. We either make it a bit faster, we make it jibe better, we make it easier going, we make it harder going. And you're just balancing which one you want more and how it, you know, how compatible it is with a certain sail, which is why certain sails go with certain boards, which I never really understood or realized until you start talking to people. And then you're like, okay, the sail lifts more. You want a board that's more planted. If the board flies more, you need a sail that's going to push it down. And that again goes with the fin, and you know, and I kind of got there with that. And then the foiling now is a whole new world.
I mean, yeah, there's the same with the sail development, you know, where with the fin, you make the small little changes, and it's behaving a little bit different, and the leech is opening a little bit different. While the foil, you're just creating new concepts. You're like, okay, either completely new concept, or again, cutting a sail 10 centimeter there, you know, it's not minimum millimeter work anymore. Like it's huge differences.
It's interesting. A few people saying this, foil's killing slalom. It's an interesting one, because I think it depends on the level you're talking at, because there's a lot of people doing IQ foil now. You know, a lot of people. There's you know, in every country, I've been through Olympic programs and stuff. It's just much easier. It's like, if you get this result, you get this much money. If you get a medal, you get this. If you do this, and it's very structured, there's a coach and it's all there. And it's just very easy to navigate yourself. Professional windsurfing has never been like that. You're on your own with a bit of help from the brand to the team. But a lot of the time you're on your own to work out your own stuff. And it's a totally different animal almost. And I can see a lot of the foil guys going into IQ foil, and then you have to work out where you guys are at on that, and that's what I think Geordie was saying about the brands. Because you go to somewhere like the Deafy Wind, you've got 1,000 odd people doing slalom, pretty much.
And it's like
not,
it's hard to say that when you say like it's dead right now. Like, we did not race much, like there's not
no,
been many races. Maybe if we would have gone having Forte 30 knots every day, if we actually would have gone out in Sylt on,
yeah,
on that onshore day, like we would have raced on the fin, and it would not be as that as we think it is. I go to local lakes, or this weekend to the Damex, and I've heard the inscription list is going very well, and there's a lot of people stoked to do slalom,
yeah,
and it doesn't have to be that. I think just the tour has been laying upside down a little bit, and
yeah.
therefore it looks more that than it maybe actually is.
That's a
Like
good point.
we had the IFCA World St. Paros, which in the end had 3 competitors less than the year before. So I think we had, how many people did we have? I don't know, I think 48 or something. In the year before we had like 50, 51. So there were people,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of fun, and the whole vibe, I think, was like, yes, this is we still need this, we still want this.
I think that's a good point, a very good point, because that's what you forget. COVID feels like it was ages ago now, but
Yeah.
it wasn't, and it's still, to some people, it's not. But to me, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But we're still not in windsurfing back to normal, and it came at the wrong time for windsurfing. I
But
feel,
and people also forget. I think a lot of the events were always supported by the local tourism offices.
Yeah.
And those offices were empty. Like, for 2 years, there was zero to hardly any income to those tourist offices.
Yeah.
So they basically need this year with the startup again from people traveling to earn some money again, get some money again, to maybe next year look at spending it again.
Yeah.
Like I think we because we are very depending on these kind of fundings,
Yeah.
we have been in a tough situation again this year. And then Forte was obviously a very sad story, because actually the money was there, everything was there. It was just a little local governmental fight with some people pointing at each other. Yeah, but you.
Yeah.
So
That's the difficulty, isn't it? Like, looking at it, like you say, you kind of got like a warped sense of the actual reality of it. And maybe next year we start to see it more as it is. It's going to be, interesting to see how it plays out. But what I do agree with, Fabian here says, bring back slalom in the waves. I think, well, someone has to do it. But the problem is the gear now is not, it's not ideal for that type of thing. Back in the day, it was a
to
bit
be honest,
more easy
like
going.
I would be fine breaking a small board in 2 pieces for doing a 5-day wave slalom event.
Yeah, but
Anywhere.
I honestly think I can imagine the coverage. I can imagine the live stream. I can imagine everything. And there's not one part of me that believes it won't be amazing. Like, we had one wave in Viana de Castello when we were racing there, which came through the course. And I tell you what, it just changed everything. It was like, oh my God, that's amazing. It just changed everything, because you couldn't, if you're ahead, but the wave was there, you couldn't just go in because the wave was there. So you had to go past. The guys behind and it was changing the whole dynamics of the race, and it made it tactical, it made it technical, it made it everything. And then you watch the old stuff of Belbioc and all these guys, racing in La Torche and stuff, and you think, man, this is the future. But the problem is, you need the conditions.
Yeah,
I believe you don't even need big waves. You just need.
No, but the funny thing is, then you hear sometimes, but we cannot put the marks. I was like, how could they put marks 30 years ago? I mean, Jesus, it's like, if they could do it back then.
Find a way. They've got to find a way. I think that, like, it's all right finding the reasons why not, but I feel like we've got to find the reasons how. Like, and everyone, even the riders, the brands, have to be more accepting to a few problems. Obviously,
Yeah.
you know, because I think it's for the good of the sport. Visually, the outcome would just be insane, like absolutely insane.
Fully. No, if there's an opportunity, I'm working on a little something in Holland to see if we can we can make something happen. But
even starting small, I thought this the other day. I thought even if, like, you know, it just starts as a really small event, and you just try and find the place which could be the thing, and it's maybe a fun event, like a real local thing. I saw that thing from Tree for the other day that I put on the channel, you know, where the guys are finishing up the beach, then he kills himself. But you know, like this type of racing, when we've done that in Lancelin with the beach start and the beach finish, it adds this whole new dynamic, and the crowd on the beach know there's something happening. Like in Sylt, it all happens out to sea, and it's okay because you've got a tannoy and all this. But there's some events you go to, you haven't got a clue what's going on. You're like, I don't even know what's happening. But when someone running up the beach, you know, or everyone's starting on the beach, it's amazing. You can visual. Someone leaves the beach, you all leave the beach, and then someone, whoever's back first, is the winner. And you can have a crowd. It just changes. I feel like it changes everything. Nico said he's keen.
He would eat some shore break.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is fins. You know, should there be some sort of standard fin for that thing, which is not? It's a G10. Like everyone has to use a G10 fin just to, you know, like it could be something.
I mean, I think that's on yourself. I mean, you take risk. I mean, should you also use 75% carbon mast because you could break it in the shore break? I mean, there is risk involved. You know, if you go full speed on the foil, there's also a risk that you catapult and break everything. You know, like there is risk, and whether it's in wave, whether it's on speed, whatever. You know, like I don't think you have to go into those kind of details. You know,
someone name me some spots. Can you think of any spots?
Scheveningen. I want you to pronounce it. Scheveningen.
Scheveningen.
It's a legendary spot from the past, though. Like, but there. I'm quite sure you can find spots along the coast.
I was just trying to think of, like, off the top of my head, windy. Even, like I say, small waves, but they have to be ones that, you know, you've got to judge.
I would think of Big Bay, South Africa. Big Bay, South Africa would be
sick. Or even Dolphin.
They did like IFCA World Championship there in 2009.
But did you hear that? They used to do a slalom downwind at Dolphin Beach.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I was going to say Melt Boss, but maybe that's a bit too hectic.
No, I think in Big Bay is quite realistic, and it can be you know the place can be some nice little waves rolling in. So,
but how would you do that? Because I know they're back in the day they used to do figure of 8. You know, that was kind of a get out of jail kind of. Well, we don't have to go too far down.
I would keep the format open. I mean, if there's enough place to do a downwind, do a classic downwind. If there's wind from the beach on, mix it up with, like, you don't have to set a format, right? Like, keep it open. Try a figure 8, try a downwind, like whatever. It doesn't
I do. I mean, from a commentating point of view, I know I'm not one of you guys, and I get a lot of hate from some people going, "Shut up, Ben, you don't know." But like from watching, I think the sailors kind of have to be less vocal to a point and just be open, like you say, be open to changing the course and not moan, "Oh, this reach is too tight, this reach is too," but okay, have a moment if that is such a problem. But I think there's got to be a point of actually racing. Like, I don't like saying it too much because I'm not racing with you guys. I know that. But when you watch in the past, you sometimes think, shut up, get on with it. Like if that next reach is tight or broad, you should have already sailed the course or looked at it and gone, right, I need to go wide on this jibe to make, I think there's some tactics in it. Again, don't get me wrong. It'd be good if everything was perfect. But I think with windsurfing and how it is, and having to pick up marks and movement ain't the easiest of jobs. And sometimes, like back in the day when I was racing, you just got on with it. Like, obviously, I know it's different. I just don't like saying it. You're all bigger than me. But sometimes I just want to go, just get on with it, entertain the people and race at the same time. The best guys will always win. I looked at that Bruno Martini post, not being rude to Bruno. I looked at it and then I looked at the top and I'm seeing Mortifon, Yakino. At that time, they were both at the top. And I'm like, it ain't luck. It is not luck that these guys are once again at the top. Yes, it's hard racing. Yes, it's not fair sometimes. But weirdly enough, the top guys at the end of the year or the end of the event always seem to get to the top. The problem is the middle guys and the guys that sometimes can have a really good event don't always, and this seems to be where the biggest difference in the thing goes. But usually the top guys get to the top, in my experience of watching, unless it's a one race. But again, for me as a just innocent bystander watching, I like it.
It makes it fun when you see new people. Yeah, sure.
I like it. Obviously, when you've got sponsors and you've got bills to pay, yeah, it's shit. But for the spectator, from keeping the sport alive to keep the interest, I think there's always a bit of luck in sport, and most of it is skill, but there's always a little bit of luck, but you make your own luck over an event, I feel.
With 10 eliminations, there is not that much luck involved anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You've got discards, you've got this, you've got, I think the biggest thing is keeping your brain together. When these things are happening, this is where the top guys shine through. They just power through that. Don't kind of let it go down. And that's why I think experience usually wins out in the end. And that's why you don't usually see the young guys pushing through early on, because they haven't got that mental capacity, which is why it's interesting seeing Johan pushing, it's interesting to see him up there. The gorge, actually, obviously that video I did the other day, but when you look at the gorge, how good would it be to see a slalom in the gorge? You probably could do figure of 8 in the gorge, because you go
with
down
a mandatory jump.
Yeah, be interesting.
Definitely. There's plenty of suggestions coming in, from the George to Klitmøller, Big Bay, Chile. We can create a tour with the right funding. We can create a tour based on the locations.
We should do it. We should need a sugar daddy. It literally needs to be a sugar daddy. Are you going to get your investment back? Probably not. Not for a while anyway. But I honestly think if you had some sort of like that budget to do it, even if it was like 4 events, you picked them, you've got some local organisers to do it. Obviously, it's a massive task. It's not easy. But the outcome, I could guarantee it would be epic, absolutely epic. And it hasn't been done for ages. I saw actually a Japanese wave slalom event. Someone sent me a link on YouTube.
I've seen this too. Like,
sick.
That looks
so
epic.
Good. You can imagine that with commentary, with all the top boys, the banter. I think it would just be, it'll be immense. It's obviously my idea, the whole idea for me would be like the Lancelin Ocean Classic, where you have the beach start and the beach finish. It's not to everyone's cup of tea, but it definitely creates drama. Like it. Yeah. I mean, it's full on. You'd have a lot of complaints.
Too early, stepping out too late, like for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's not easy. It's not as easy as it looks. Yeah. Well, there we go. I think that's a little bit of a lowdown. I don't think we missed too much. I mean, Antoine Albeau, what's comments on him? I mean, he's cracking on a bit. Is he
first day he had big back problems. Okay. He said it was getting worse every heat, and after the first day of racing, he was not able to walk. Like, he had to see a physio the next day. So let's say the first day he missed out quite a lot due to this. For sure, the light winds were not helping. He's still a big dog, let's say. And then the other days, he's still fast. I tell you, top speed, believe me, still fast.
I
No
believe you.
problem at all. But yeah, he was getting. Let's say he was a bit shaky at the jibes. I saw him 2 times exploding before, like right before the jibe that he touched down and he crashed. So he had some crashes, he had some mistakes. But purely on speed, he would definitely. He's still there.
Sorry, heel even.
Oeh.
Heb jij nog een pyjama?
I was actually just looking for the results while we were chatting then. And then we were talking about weights earlier. Obviously, Amado reached, like we touched on, 105 kilos. But I just seen Sebastian Kernam, 11th. That's pretty solid, isn't it? Because he can't be more than 80.
I mean, roundabout, he was sailing very well. He was just sailing very well. I believe it were not conditions where speed was making the biggest difference, because with the waves and all that kind of it got really technical. Okay. And he's technical, a good sailor. He was on slalom as well. He is on the foil too. So based on top speed, no, he was not the fastest, but he was there, and sometimes when you jibe 6th, 7th, he's the one who sneaks through. And he was just sailing very, very solid, very technical, very, very solid.
Yeah, Nico with a comment, waves can act like a DRS in Formula One. You may be in front, but you are forced to hit the wave steep takeoff. Yeah, exactly. The guy from behind may be able to pass. It's like, say, coming into the jibe mark. If you're on the front of a wave and it's breaking, you might have to go further in front of it to jibe or slow down to get back behind it.
I mean, we already had this in Sylt now. It's not as extreme as big wave surfing, right? Like, but already now with the swell, it was sometimes you jibe against and you stopped, and then the guy around jibes on the swell and is off. So I mean, the waves make everything interesting, but already in Sylt, it was making things interesting.
The thing is, with all this, it still needs someone to organize it. Because, I mean, I see this comment all the time, the PWA do not organize these competitions. They come with the infrastructure of the judges, all the sailors, they bring everything like that. But the actual event is organized by a local person. So let's say you live in the gorge right now, you would organize the money, the sponsors, the event, like the tents, the whatever, and you would then pay a certain amount of money to the PWA, who would bring all their people and organize the sailors to come, and you would pay the prize money. It's not really the PWA that do that. It's a different setup. Some other events are different. I mean, like the surfing maybe is different. It's WSL that bring and do everything. But with PWA, it's not like that. So if you are in a place where we could do wave slalom, you could ring up the PWA and go, right, how much is it going to cost? I want to do it. We look forward to that phone call. I say we, I'm not on the PWA, but I look forward to seeing it as a windsurfer. I've just been crying out. It's just crying out for it, isn't it? It's going to happen one day. Someone's going to do it. And even at a lower
this kind
level,
of discussions, I think, will help. Will just help. We'll create the vibe to
I think the more we talk about it and the more people understand what we're dealing with, I think it's just impossible not to see it. Same for windy slalom, like Paros. I saw you went for the Ivka. That looked crazy windy on the last day. Obviously not super loads of media around after it, but the racing looked windy, like fully windy.
It was a shame, like if we could have proper media, or if they would have just filmed the last 2 finals with gusting up to 35 knots, being on 5.8 full power. I mean, inboard shorts in 35 degrees on light blue waters. Like, it's such a shame that there was no good coverage from the event, because it was epic pictures, to race on that day. And it's epic.
When I grew up, I can still remember the magazines, and I still remember it, the hi-ho. This was always my dream event, which is, I'm pretty sure it's around the Caribbean, and you basically sail from island to island and then get drunk every night and have a party and then sail to the next island. That was just, and then you had the Aruba, the high winds at Aruba. And these were the visuals I had as a kid growing up. Flat water, offshore, absolute paradise. I
and
mean,
you
it's
get
kind of mad,
Jinha
isn't it?
Beach, Korea, with.
It's mad. Like it's
Yeah.
it's like I say, it's difficult. But
Yeah.
anyway, windsurfing for me is still the best sport in the world. We just want to see a bit more wave slalom. That's what I reckon. But I think we will see more events next year. I think, like I said, this year is now out of the way. There's Japan obviously coming up. World title still up for grabs. Maciek looking good. Amado looking good. But Pierre, Giacchino, you know, they're still all open with 2 events. There'll be no discard. So if one of them, if those guys have a bit of a shocker, someone could come from the, I guess, 5th, 6th and take a win. It depended on how the results were.
And Rico was like, if you look to his results, you know, the last day was definitely the easiest day, and Rico won 2 out of 3 eliminations. You know, like in Japan, he could definitely be one of the guys again. It's gonna be a huge fight. It's gonna be a huge fight.
It's going to be huge. And you look at the
It's
top 6. If you reverse that top 6, you wouldn't be shocked.
no,
You know,
no,
if
no,
I'd have
no.
said to you, Enrico won, then there was Matthias Isaac, then Pierre, then Giacchino, Rakowski, Vrieswijk, you wouldn't go, oh, that's weird. That could happen.
No,
That would then change everything.
I mean, I think this is actually one other guy which we didn't specific, but Mateus. I mean, he's also been sailing incredibly stable during the event, and he was always there. And I think, you know, he's. I'm not sure if he touched the fin anywhere recently, but he's been spending a lot of time on the IQ foil, and this IQ rhythm just seems to help him on the slalom foil as well, because he's been sailing incredibly stable, and this event probably the best he's ever done on tour so far.
It's a good point. I didn't even mention him, but he was in 5th place and he looked, like you say, solid. He didn't look like he was going out. Looked really solid, like in the stuff I saw anyway. Looked really, really solid. So interesting. Looking forward to it. Okay, Geordie, cheers, mate. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Like I said, we're going to do a few more of these lives after events, or even every week. I might even do another one to go through the freestyle, because Adrian Bosson, your teammate, took out the world title, which is impressive stuff. Jacopo Testa as well, sailing good. And then Steven van Broekhoven still on the podium after all these years.
He's showing that freestyle is not just for the young guns.
It's mad, isn't it? Mad to see, you know, Yentel's still up there, and then the waves, you see, you know, Costa won it, but close battle with Marc Paré. I definitely tipped Marc for a win. I just thought maybe
I wanted to. You knew this was coming.
I knew it was coming.
Probably surprised you the least.
I didn't surprise me at all. I really thought he'd win. I really thought when I seen him in the final, I thought, you know what, he's got this.
He's going to do it.
And just messed up the last wave probably, but not messed it up. I mean, second is still immense, but I think that will give him, you know, some riders need that podium, need that confidence, that extra confidence, and then people see it as well. And then it changes, the whole dynamic changes at the top. And it's starting to do that. You know, Brasilio getting a world title. You know, people talk about IWT and all these tours, but you see when Brasilio is breaking down in tears, you know, that's how much it means. The PWA Tour, how many events it doesn't matter. The work involved and the prestige of winning it for some of these riders is massive. Like massive.
How good was this video from Brasilio where they told him, like, you were world champion, and he's like, no, like, and you see on his face that he did not make up the calculation before. Like it was really that moment where he realized he got the champion. It's such an amazing video. It's so nice to see. That's so pure emotion.
Yes. That's the difference. I always say this: the video shouldn't be just action. I actually have a go at Brasilio for his videos sometimes because they're too much action. It needs emotion in there.
Yes.
Emotion is what sport is about. That's the big seller. It's not the speed of the riders. Like I read a comment before, something like speed. It's not the speed. It's nothing to do with the speed. It's to do with the emotion and the prestige and all that combined. The speed is irrelevant if everyone's fighting it out, you know. So yeah. Anyway, that was good to see. Sarah Key obviously winning another Wave World title. You know, Schnatty up there, but the Moreno twins not going to Sylt, which was a shock for me. I didn't expect them both to not go. So that kind of opened the door. Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting.
Still enough to talk about.
Yeah, loads to talk about. Okay, stay tuned. Cheers, Geordie. We'll see you for the next one. I don't know when it's going to be. I had some bad news this week, so that's why there was no Send It Sunday. But I will be back this Sunday with the Send It Sunday, and then probably popping out a baby. So yeah, busy times here. It's pretty freaking hectic. I just need to find this end stinger, and then I can press it, and then we're off. See you later.